Hi, how are you? This is Dr. Damaris Maria Grossman, and this is the Mindfully Integrative Show. And today we have an amazing guest for our mindful chat, Rob Krechek. And I might have said it wrong, but he's an IT specialist and also IT integrating with mindfulness. And I know he has a lot more to discuss with you about that. He was just kind of touching base with me about it prior to us going on air. And I can't wait for you guys to meet him and kind of learn more about his story. So thanks so much for having the time and taking the time for us.
Yeah, well, thank you, Damaris. I really appreciate the opportunity and grateful to be here today.
Awesome. So, kind of tell a little bit, as I say to people, a little fun fact, something that people don't know about you.
Something that people don't know about me. Uh in my first in my first job out of college, one of the first in I had a 6-month review. And one of the first things that they brought up in my 6-month review was that they didn't like that I was drinking milk out of a half gallon jug. And they
Uh-oh. That was
so I kind of thought that was funny. That I just thought, well, why couldn't you have brought it up sooner? I don't know.
that's kind of weird that just kind of randomly happened that they just said, "Hey,
Yeah.
they
So
wanted you to find a cup."
yes. Yeah, and I understand now. There was clients that could come into the office occasionally, so I get it. But it
Oh.
just, it just didn't it wasn't something that young Rob was thinking about or mindful of.
Oh, yeah. I mean, at that time you're probably like, "Oh, this is just more convenient."
Right. It's more efficient. Like now I don't get a cup dirty. I don't have to go to the kitchen.
But now you're like, "Okay, yeah, I probably could have gotten
Yeah.
a cup."
Yeah.
That's cool. So tell us a little bit about kind of where you are in this, I call it an integrative health space, but where I guess you're intertwining IT and mindfulness. So obviously the technology in that area, and just what brought you to this? Because you were saying to me a little bit about a 4-day work week, which, I think most people should be in a 4-day work week, if not less.
Yeah,
How did you do
I
that?
mean, there's so much background to it, but basically, the way I would describe myself is I'm a technology mindfulness expert that guides companies to a 4-day work week. And the way I define technology mindfulness is allowing humans to use technology in a way that serves us instead of us being enslaved to it. And so, what I think is pretty unique about my approach and kind of the way I'm looking at things is I've combined studies in 5 different areas. So it's the combination of technology, biology, sociology, neurology, and psychology all combined together. And what I'm trying to do, and our mission here at Humans First, that's the name of my company, Humans First, our mission is to help humanity understand how technology is impacting mental health, relationships, and productivity at work. And so I am very confident that if the 4.2 billion people that are connected to the internet today knew what I know about how technology is affecting those 3 areas of our life, the
Mhm.
entire world would be a totally different place. And that's why I'm really excited to share this information with people and help bring some awareness, help them bring awareness, I guess, for themselves of some of the ways that, they might be using technology that doesn't serve them well. And then they can decide what they want to do about it.
Are you on the camp of against technology, or is it just a matter of learning how to use it in your with work? Like is it both?
Yeah. So the way I describe it is I'm not anti-technology, I'm
Hmm.
pro-humanity. And I say that
Okay.
because I'm a nerd at heart. I was one of those kids in middle school. I built my first desktop computer. My
Yeah.
friends and I
My
would
husband
compare.
too. You two would probably
Oh,
get along
cool.
great.
Yeah. Yeah. And like my friends and I would talk about our computer specifications at the lunch table in high school, so
Oh,
like that
geez.
was the kind of nerd I was. Right. And so
Yeah.
I love technology. But what has happened over the last 40 years is we went from a time where in the 80s, let's say, when most technology was personal technology, let's say, was first introduced. Then all technology was good and it basically all did great things for humanity and it really helped us. But we've now eclipsed the point where all technology is good. It's not all good anymore. And
Right.
again, it's not the vast majority is good, but there's certain things that we're doing in certain ways that we're using it that aren't serving us. And so I just want to, help people, be aware of those things because I do think it is, the average person in America. This is a crazy statistic. The average person in America is in front of screens and media 12 hours and 21 minutes per day. In other words, we're
Well, that's a
spending
lot.
3/4 of our waking life in front of screens and media. And that statistic, by the way, was from before COVID. So you can't say, oh,
I
that was due
believe
to
it.
COVID.
I do believe it.
Yeah. And so humans aren't first in our world anymore. Technology is first based on how we're spending our time. And so that's
Mhm.
why the name of my company is Humans First. It's a reminder to people that we are here on this planet to connect with the hearts and souls of other people. That gives us the most meaning, the most happiness, the most joy. And it really is, the best moments of our life are made up of us spending time with other humans. And I really hope that we can get back to doing more of those kinds of things with each other.
I think it's so necessary because the connection is there, it's needed. I think like you said, there could be a positive with the technology if it's done well, but if you're sitting and your body isn't connecting and doing things, there must be you're getting yourself a disservice. What kind of got you into this strange, I wouldn't call it strange, but what changed, or that was like this profit, thing that was like a turning point for you that got you
Yeah.
into doing this?
Yeah, maybe I can briefly describe my career because it kind of builds up to,
Yeah,
Humans First. So
absolutely.
I used to be a sell side equity analyst and I analyzed healthcare stocks for a living. So I research medical device and pharmaceutical companies. And so
Uh-huh.
that helped me understand the business world, the stock market, how to ask good questions to CEOs and CFOs, things like that, making financial models, all those things. But
Mhm.
I didn't, and I really liked the firm I was working at, but I just didn't feel like I was helping people enough. And so
Right.
I left that. So while I was doing that 60-hour a week day job, I opened up my first business, which was an Anytime Fitness health club. It was a franchise.
Oh,
And so
wow.
once that
Oh,
health
Anytime
club,
Fitness? That's
yeah,
huge.
I was a
That's not
franchisee.
nothing.
I was a franchisee, not the franchisor.
Yeah, but
But
still, that's still a lot.
yeah, and so I ended up, once that business was profitable enough, I quit my day job. I traveled around the world to Central America, South America, and Europe for a little bit. Then I came back to the States. I ended up buying 2 more of those Anytime Fitness health clubs. And then once I saw that business was kind of past its prime, I sold those and
Mhm.
invested in 4 U Break I Fix cell phone repair stores. So I
Oh,
kind
those
of
are
joke,
everywhere.
yeah, they are as well. And I guess I kind of joke that I have career ADD, right? So if you look at my career, it's finance/business, and then health and fitness, and then technology. But the thing that I really think is cool is Humans First is kind of a collaboration of all 3 of those things. I'm helping people with technology, mindfulness, and applying it to business and their personal life, really. And
Right.
um, that's again, like I think that's why my perspective is kind of unique, because I have this very diverse set of background experiences and, business ownership, but
Mhm.
understanding the health and fitness side and the psychology side. And, that kind of led me to where I am today.
Wow. That sounds like a lot in a nutshell there.
Yeah.
Wow. So I really want you to kind of dive more into this conversation of IT and mindfulness. So, what it's tell me a little bit more. I want you to kind of go into that for me.
Yeah. So, and, like I was saying earlier, I've combined studying 5 different areas. And over the last 4 years, I've read over 100 books and 2,000 articles and studies to truly understand this problem. And I still
Mhm.
think I have a long way to go. But if I had to summarize all that research in a couple sentences, it would be this. I believe that technology is simultaneously increasing the day to day and sometimes minute to minute stress that we experience, which also puts us in a negative emotional state, while at the same time degrading our ability to deal with that stress because it is degrading our social support systems, relationships, and communities. It's degrading the bonds between humans. And so we have this equation where both sides of the equation are actually going in the wrong direction. More stress,
Mm.
less connection, or less ability to deal with it. And I think this is the root cause of much of the mental health crisis we have today. It's because we're using something for 3/4 of the waking hours of our day that is causing stress. And then we're not recharging ourselves anymore by being with people and socializing and having that care
Being
and support.
grounded, going to nature,
Exactly.
connecting outside, doing things
All
that were
that
mhm,
we're meant to do, right? Like
right.
humans weren't meant, in the long term for humanity, if humans do something over the long term, it has to serve us in one of two ways. It either has to help us survive or it has to help us reproduce. Otherwise, over the long term, it would not, we humans would not do that thing. And technology doesn't inherently do either of those things. It can
Mhm.
help us with those somewhat, but it doesn't inherently help us survive or reproduce. And so I just don't see the amount of technology and how we're using it to be a long-term sustainable, situation for humanity.
Mm. Do you find it, well, obviously a loss of connection. Do you think that there is a medium, or has it gone past the medium of there's no chance of turning back kind of
Oh
thing?
no, I definitely so um uh and I wouldn't, certain technologies, for instance, and I do like to pick on social media a little bit because it's the most addictive technology by far, and it's also
Of
used the
course.
most per day. But
Right.
as an example, I think in a social media is the cigarette of the 21st century. I think in 10 years from now, we're going to be saying, what the hell were we thinking, giving 12-year-olds this insanely addictive technology that's, super convenient and in their pocket all the time, and then expecting them to use it responsibly when their brain isn't fully developed and they don't have good decision making ability or good executive function. And so
Exactly.
uh so I think, in 10 years, and I think that the tide has actually turned for social media. I think the movie The Social Dilemma came out in late 2019, and
Hmm.
that to me was a tipping point. That was the first time that humanity actually, like a significant number of people, realized, oh shit, this might not be good for us. And
Hmm.
now I see more. And so, that thought has
Yeah.
taken a little while for people to understand, but it's now permeating our population. And I think it's, people are getting it now, but it's still not as mainstream as I would hope it would be. That
Yeah,
those
no,
thoughts.
I could see that because I can see like, well, I mean, I put technology, or in this conversation, technology is a consumption of anything, right? So
Mm.
whether you're consuming excess sugar, you're consuming excess technology, when you overdo anything, I feel like your body doesn't need it, right? So it's like here, but the problem is it's so addicting, so it's an addiction, right? And I could not agree more. I mean, I think in some way all of us are addicted to it because of it. It's the feelings that you get. It has that same response. I mean, you probably have read the technology, the I've definitely read this research on that and the
Oh,
addictive properties of it.
it's incredible. So what the research shows is that, at least specifically with social media, the same circuitry in your brain that is lit up when you take illegal drugs like
Yeah,
cocaine
I've
is
read
lit
that
up
too.
when you use social media. And so think about
Yeah,
this. Would we give a
crazy.
12-year-old a bag of cocaine that was
No.
unlimited and say, hey, I just want you to use this, take a little bit of cocaine and use it responsibly, and I'm going to keep on giving you an unlimited amount, but don't get addicted to it? Like, would we ever do that? That would be totally insane. But that's
No.
exactly what we're doing with a digital device when we give them a cell phone with social media on it. It's exactly the same.
And unfortunately, I wish it would, because I mean, having like, now that I'm growing up a little ones, and I'm in that fear of what's too much, what's too little. And then I'm like, I don't even know if I want to do a phone later on. I hear you. I can totally understand where you're coming from. Where now at this point you're working a lot with companies, right? Because you're saying the technology, the mindfulness, and then transitioning that into a 4-day work week. I love that idea. How did that come out for you? I mean, I think it's the best, makes sense to me, but
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I work with not only whole companies but also teams and individuals. And
Mhm.
with regardless of what type of group I'm working with, it's basically the same material, because what I'm essentially doing is helping people understand how, especially from a productivity standpoint, they're using technology that again isn't serving them well, or is damaging their focus or their ability to get their job done. And so my
Mm.
goal when I work with a company is to help each person at that company do their job better and be less stressed and less burned out, so that they can do their job better, have more time for themselves, and go home one day a week. And it's also for the executives, not just the employees. Every person at the company could have a
Mhm.
full day off.
Yeah.
I could explain a little bit about kind of what I see in terms of how people are working. That might not be helpful, if that would be useful for the listeners.
Sure. I mean, Do you find that it's just that people are like, so for a regular workday, is it technology in the sense of scrolling on social media, or is it technology in the sense of not knowing how to use all of these new parts that are included in the work?
Yeah. So the way I would say it is, it's we are distracting ourselves every day almost. Well, for a lot of people, we're doing it so much that we don't even realize it, and it's ridiculously damaging to how much we can accomplish. And as an example, I thought I was super productive, right? Like I'm not sure if you've heard of that book 4 Hour Work Week by Tim
Oh, of
Ferriss.
course.
I
Yes,
mean,
of course.
everyone's
Yeah.
heard of that. I love that book. And that was like my Bible for a long time. And so I read that book and I did all these productivity hacks. And I was like, I thought to myself, I'm super productive. But about 4 years ago, when I started researching this, I said to myself, I would get to the end of a day and I would say, I feel like I did a lot. Like I feel like I was in my email inbox and doing a bunch of things.
Mhm.
But if I had to write down a list of what I actually accomplished today, it really wouldn't be that long. It really wasn't that much
Mhm.
good, high quality work. And so I said, well, I don't get it. I thought I was productive, but I'm not really getting a lot done. What's going on here? And so what I did over the last 4 years is I ran hundreds and hundreds of experiments on myself to do different things and see what was effective in terms of
Mhm.
using my technology. And an interesting thing that your listeners will probably appreciate is that I also have ADHD. So I am much more apt to be distracted than the average person. So the thing is, I have, now amassed a set of techniques that even for someone like me with ADHD are ridiculously effective in helping me, guide me to be productive. And that's what I
Mhm.
want to share with people. And I found that, you know, using these techniques, you can get exponentially more done in a day. It's not even like linear. It's like if you do these things, I'm getting like 5 to 10x more done than I used to in a full
Oh, that's
day.
did you write a book too? You need one.
Well, what's interesting is helping people with these techniques. I had one client, for instance, she took this survey. It's just 15 minutes that I give my new clients. And then I worked with her for 2 hours. And during that 2 hours, I suggested a bunch of ways that she could change her technology use. And so after 2 hours of working with me, we checked her phone screen time a couple weeks later, and she saved over 40 hours of time per week on her phone. She
Oh,
saved an
that's great.
entire work week of time
Wow.
every week.
Wow.
And
Isn't
so
that
like,
amazing how much we
yeah,
use it?
it's incredible. Yeah. It's like, so that is what's possible if you're open-minded and are open to doing things a little differently.
Mhm. Mhm. Wow. Yeah, I mean it's not only that we're obsessed with it or people use it differently. I mean, I think the challenge too, I know for someone on in business now that, you have to use it, right? You have to have some sort of connection to it to build business or build some
Yeah.
sort of. But then I also find myself trying to disconnect from it too, because I mean, the world of integrative health, you're trying to disconnect from some of that. But
Mhm.
you go back and forth of what's the right time. But yeah, I guess it is a mindfulness and it is an awareness of what's. And I'm surprised. I even try to put like um a lot of do not disturbs on my after
Yes.
certain times or before the day before I start my day. So I have like a don't turn on, don't turn off, and like blue light screens, and just that alone I
Nice.
found that was helpful, right? But I bet you for just me alone I probably even have a lot, and I probably use less technology than some, but I use a lot for my business. I have to. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, and I'm not saying that people shouldn't use technology because it does so
Yeah.
many good things for us, but it's
Oh, of course.
also,
Yeah.
doing things that, like I give the example of this. What a lot of people will do is, for instance, this is such a simple example, but there's millions of people around the world doing this every day. Let's say you have your email on your phone and you check your email right before you go to bed.
Hmm.
So and then let's pretend you get an email from your boss that says a bunch of stuff, and then you get stressed out about it, or it amps up your sympathetic nervous system, right? This fight or flight
Right.
system that, helps you identify threats and keeps you alive. Well, now you've activated this system, and not only are you stressed out by the email, but unless you're going to go to your computer and act on all that information, which nobody is, right? You're trying to get to bed, Now it actually feels even more helpless for you because you know this information, you perceive it as a threat, but then you can't act on it. And so you feel like you're out of control. And that even adds more to the feeling of threat. And so if you do this right before you go to bed, this, not only reduces your ability to get to bed right away, but also probably dramatically impacts the sleep quality that you have. And so just doing that one seemingly simple thing, checking your email right before bed, can totally crush your next day because it crushes your night of sleep. And so
Mm,
like no one is thinking about these things, right? They're just like, oh yeah, I'm just going to scroll my email and check it right before bed. And
mm.
it really doesn't serve us well to do that, in my
No,
opinion.
I wouldn't recommend it. I've I mean, but I think it's that awareness, I'm pretty big about trying to not have it at least a half hour before bed for myself, but
Nice.
that took time to change.
Totally.
Because like you said, habits, they're there.
Hmm.
Um, I would love for those to kind of connect with you again, but would you like to leave the audience a little bit mindful tip, as I say, for mindful way for them today before
Yeah, of
we
course,
go?
Tamaris. One of the things that I just want people to be aware of is for every hour that you use your smartphone, you could cut that time in half if you were doing the same thing on a computer. And so what we don't realize is using a smartphone is way, way, way less productive than a computer because for two main reasons. The first one is when you're inputting information, when you're typing, you know, for almost everyone, typing with your fingers is way slower than typing on a keyboard, not surprisingly. But then the other reason is even if you have a huge phone, like a 7-inch screen, that's still way, way smaller than a laptop screen or for sure a desktop monitor. And so
Right.
that extra monitor size allows you to see more things, multitask, do other stuff. And so basically, if you're using your phone and running your business from your phone, or you're doing a lot of things from your phone, if you can just be mindful of not setting aside some time where instead you can go to your desktop and do those exact same things, it literally cuts the amount of time you're spending in half. In
Oh, wow.
half.
That's good to
Yeah.
know. I think you don't even think about that. You think, oh, I can get it done on my phone.
No,
You
and
know what
and
I mean?
so and the way I kind of describe it is that, people have to decide, right? The trade-off that you're making when you're using your phone is you're trading off convenience for productivity. So when you use your phone,
Mm.
you're essentially saying, I really care about convenience and I want to and I'm, using my phone to be convenient, but it's at the cost of productivity. It's at the cost of taking twice as long.
Interesting. So yeah, so it's in a one way, it's pulling one side or the other.
Hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I can imagine how much people are doing that,
Oh, so
myself
there's
included.
there's billions and billions of dollars of productivity lost every day from doing that kind of stuff.
Oh my gosh. How can those like reach you? Because I love that your name Humans First, because I feel one that could be in so many aspects. I mean, I know we're just talking about the technology, but I feel that connection in itself is missing. You probably have many avenues in your business, because I feel like we don't talk enough. I mean, here I am talking to you through technology, right? And that at least is a connection, but um the connection of like face to face, that doesn't happen as much as it used to.
No, it doesn't. And my vision for Humans First isn't that it's just a company, that it's a social movement, that people will,
Mhm.
get behind this and say to themselves, like, yeah, I want to be a connector. I want to connect and talk to other people in person and, be with people because that brings me joy. I
Mhm.
do agree that we've kind of lost our way as as a society. And if people want to learn more information, they can go to my website, which is humansfirst.us.
Mhm.
Another thing that I'd like to offer your listeners is a free 30-minute consultation with me. And so all they
Ooh.
would need to do to redeem that is just email me. And my email address is rob at humansfirst.us. And what they can
That's
do is,
amazing. Thank you.
yeah, and then just say that, just mention this podcast in your subject line and that you want the 30-minute call, and then we'll set something up. And I'd love to connect with the listeners and help them with their technology mindfulness.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for, coming on and taking your time. I know your time is very precious, and it's really great. So thanks again. And I appreciate you being on the show.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Tamaris. Really grateful to be here. Thank you.
And thank you guys for tuning in and taking your time. So thanks again for chatting with us and being part of the Mindfully Integrative Show. And as I say to each one of you, find a mindful way each and every day. Thanks.